Coming up on Falcon Weekly, striking back, France has declared war on ISIS. Following last week's deadly attacks in Paris, now President Obama is responding to criticism that the U.S. hasn't done enough to stop the terrorist group.
And refusing refugees. Alabama Governor Robert Bentley says Syrian refugees will not be allowed in the state in the wake of the Paris attacks. Find out which other state is also saying it won't let refugees relocate there.
Plus, honoring our veterans. See how people around the nation and right here in Montevallo took time on Veterans Day to honor the men and women who served our country.
And students learn valuable self-defense techniques from the Montevallo Police Department. Find out what you can do to protect yourself from an attacker. Falcon Weekly starts now.
Hello and welcome to Falcon Weekly. I'm Austin Gates.
And I'm Kiera Hood. Thanks so much for joining us.
Airstrikes, arrests, and a declaration of war followed the deadly terrorist attacks in Paris.
The French president vows to eradicate terrorism as President Obama defends the United States strategy for fighting ISIS. CNN's Aaron McLaughlin is in Paris with the latest.
France is at war.
Passionate and precise, French President François Hollande promises to extinguish terrorism in France and abroad. He proposes extending France's state of emergency for 3 months and to make it easier to detain and deport suspected terrorists. He vows the soul of his nation will survive this bloodshed.
I want France to remain itself. Barbarians attacking it want to defigure it. They will not succeed.
Friday attacks that killed 129 people in Paris have sparked a series of raids, arrests and detentions in France and Belgium. In the U.S., the CIA and FBI are on heightened alert as ISIS has released a video threatening more attacks. In Raqqa, Syria, the French continue a bombing campaign against ISIS. In Turkey, for the G20 summit, President Obama defends his actions in response to bruising questions, accusing the U.S. of failing to act aggressively against the terror organization.
So when I said that we are containing their spread in Raqqa and Syria, in fact, they control less territory than they did last year. And the more we shrink that territory, the less they can pretend that they are somehow a functioning state, and the more it becomes apparent that they are simply a network of killers who are brutalizing local populations.
One of those brutal killers is now the subject of an intense international manhunt. 26-year-old Salah Abdeslam is believed to be connected to the Paris attacks. A reminder that danger persists even in the midst of mourning.
The hacker group Anonymous has responded to the attacks on Paris by posting a video declaration of cyber war against ISIS.
A spokesperson wearing the group's signature Guy Fawkes mask said the group of hackers would use its expertise to wage war on the militant group.
In Anonymous's latest video, the masked spokesperson says in French that the French people are stronger than you and will come out of the atrocity even stronger, although the video was not on the group's official channel.
The Obama administration is trying to calm fears of a similar ISIS attack in the U.S. Officials say ISIS would like to launch similar attacks on U.S. soil, but their ability to do so is limited.
Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes says a key difference is that thousands of fighters returned to Europe after going to Syria. Director of National Intelligence James Clasper said earlier this year that the number being tracked in the U.S. is around 40. The success of ISIS in America has come mostly from recruiting and motivating sympathizers online, according to officials. After reports that one of the Paris attackers entered the country with Syrian refugees, Governor Robert Bentley announced Sunday that he would oppose any federal effort to relocate Syrian refugees to Alabama. In a statement, Bentley said he would not stand complicit to a policy that he says put Alabama residents in harm's way. No Syrian refugees have been relocated to Alabama at this time. and the governor's office says there are no credible threats against the state. In addition to Alabama, at least 12 other states are refusing Syrian refugees, including Michigan, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Indiana.
Massachusetts, Ohio, Mississippi, Florida, North Carolina, New Hampshire, and Illinois also say they will refuse Syrian refugees relocating to the states. The Obama administration says it will let 10,000 Syrian refugees enter the U.S. next year.
The world is reacting to the Paris attacks with messages of love and support. Social media sites have been an outlet for sending condolences and even letting people report their safety to loved ones at the time of the attacks. Rosie Tompkins reports from London.
A powerful moment of unity. French football supporters sing the national anthem as they're evacuated from the Stade de France on Friday night. Around the world, more expressions of solidarity. 3 colours, red, white and blue. The French flag adorning monuments the world over. Social media was soon awash with those same colours, amidst a global outpouring of support. Many from Muslims around the world, such as this one, quoting the Quran. Whoever kills an innocent human being, it shall be as if he has killed all mankind. More than just a platform for condolences, social media proved itself once again as a tool for coordinating help and spreading information. Twitter hashtags lit up with users trying to locate loved ones and offer shelter to strangers. And Facebook activated its Safety Check app for the first time outside of a natural disaster, with more than 4 million people using the tool to notify others of their safety.
Well, the reaction to Facebook's use of the app was interesting, many expressing thanks to the company, one person saying this is social media as it should be used. Others, though, have raised questions over why it wasn't used in previous attacks, with many pointing to the Beirut bombings last week. Now, Facebook responded by saying that while the app was first created for natural disasters, Paris was the first time it was trialled in a human-caused incident. Zuckerberg himself saying, "We now plan to activate Safety Check for more human disasters going forward as well. We care about all people equally and will work hard to help people suffering in as many situations as we can." Rosie Tompkins, CNN, London.
To see more news about the terrorist attacks in Paris, be sure to follow Falcon Weekly on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Coming up, see how Montevallo honored one of its most legendary veterans, Dr. Eugene Sledge.
And Kia is recalling its popular Soul model. Find out why.
Also, sleeping at work? We'll tell you why experts say napping on the job could be good for you. Those stories and more when Falcon Weekly returns.
Between class, work, and everything else on your plate, there isn't a whole lot of time to watch the news.
And that's why here at Falcon Weekly, we focus on the stories that you need to hear.
So once a week, tune in for the news that impacts your life and matters to you.
From campus events to entertainment and health updates to the latest national and world news, Falcon Weekly is your one-stop shop for information.
And you can always find information from us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Falcon Weekly. Find your news here.
Welcome back to Falcon Weekly.
Last Wednesday was Veterans Day, and Falcon Weekly's Brittany Williams joins us with a look at how our nation and our campus celebrated those who serve our country. Brittany?
Thanks, guys. A veterans group organized a special tribute for service members who died in the September 11 terror attacks. They left yellow roses at the 9/11 memorial site. The flowers were placed at the monument inscribed with the names of military personnel killed that day. More than 275 veterans died during the attacks. The group, Team Red, White, and Blue, organized the tribute. In Washington, a salute to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the nation. President Barack Obama laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Union Unknowns at Arlington National Park. The president took part in a National Veterans Day observance ceremony to honor all who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Meanwhile, here on campus, UM dedicated a memorial to one of its most well-known veterans, Dr. Eugene B. Sledge. Dr. Sledge was a Marine and former professor of biology. Falcon Weekly's video journalist Kaylee Blankenship shows us how the university celebrated Dr. Sledge's life and service to our nation.
Wonderful dedication ceremony to the Dr. E.B. Sledge Memorial. faculty on campus had the idea that he is one of our most noteworthy Montevallo family members. And so for the last 18 months or so, we've been talking to the Sledge family about how we might honor his memory and our veterans who are in our alumni population and students, faculty, and staff who are veterans, and how we might do that on this special Veterans Day on campus.
Very impressed that Montevallo recognizes how significant this guy has been in terms of history, not just the book he wrote, but the service that he provided as a Marine in the South Pacific. It's a great day.
I don't have to tell you all who Dr. Sledge was, Dr. Eugene Sledge was. He was all of this. He was all of them. And in a way, he was all of us, at least the best part of all of us. He emerged from the character-challenging crucible of war to study and teach life, literally so, as a professor of biology. There's an irony in that, of course, but also a lesson. For young Eugene Bondurant Sledge witnessed the worst ugliness the world can inflict, only to respond by making his life's work the explanation of the wondrous beauty the world has to offer. And oh, by the way, in addition to all of this, Eugene Sledge, paraphrasing Tom Hanks, did nothing less than help save the world.
On behalf of the family and for honoring Dr. Sledge's memory, or dear old dad, as he always encouraged us to call him. At moments like this, words fail, so I feel that I must fall back on Scripture, the King James Version, of course. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. Thank you all so much.
After the memorial dedication, Emmy-winning documentary producer Kirk Sadusky held a Q&A session in LeBaron Recital Hall. He talked about his work on Band of Brothers and the Pacific. To rewatch his Q&A session, we've posted a replay of our Periscope stream on our Facebook page. The university has been awarded the title of Military Friendly for the 7th year in a row for embracing military students and dedicating resources to ensure their success. Institutions are awarded this title through a series of surveys covering categories such as military support on campus, graduation and employment outcomes, and military spouse policies. From all of us here at Falcon Weekly, we would like to thank all of you, our veterans, for their service to our country. Reporting live in the studio, I'm Brittany Williams. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Brittany. Next up, could your birth control be faulty? Coming up, see what pills are being recalled.
Also, ever heard of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster? Later on, we'll show how one woman is claiming her noodle-based beliefs were violated.
You want to feel connected, informed, included on every screen in your life. We are broadcasters, always here for you, wherever here may be. Text Washington. Tell them local stations matter.
Welcome back to Falcon Weekly. Now let's take a look at consumer headlines.
Kia Motors is recalling thousands of its small cars. South Korea's second largest automaker says that 260,000 Kia Souls are possibly unsafe due to the vehicle's steering controls. Kia says the adhesive used to secure one of the steering gears may not be strong enough. If the gear is compromised, then the drivers cannot control their cars. The Souls being recalled were made in 2014 and 2015. The company says that there have been 5 reports claiming to have this problem, but no accidents or injuries associated with those.
Uh-oh is right when it comes to Spaghettios. Campbell's Soup is recalling 335,000 cans of the pasta due to a potential choking hazard. The company announced Thursday that pieces of red plastic were found in several cans. The recall cans are stamped with the February 22, 2017 date, and the UPC code is located at the bottom of the screen. Customers who purchase the Spaghettios should return the recall product to the store where they were purchased in exchange for a full refund.
And Walmart is revealing its annual Black Friday sale plans.
The retail giant unveiled several deals for the post-Thanksgiving shopping madness Thursday. It includes video games for as little as $8 and a Star Wars drone for $25. Walmart stores will open at 6 p.m. local time Thanksgiving night, while Walmart.com will start offering deals at 3 a.m. Eastern Time on Thanksgiving morning. The company says it's ditching its hourly doorbuster deals, which have a history of causing scuffles between shoppers. Instead, all discounts and deals will be available at once. Walmart says about 96% of what's offered in stores will be available online, and the company will give additional pay, free dinner, and discounts to employees who work on Black Friday.
Crayola Crayons is branching out and getting into the coloring book market. The iconic company is now offering 5 adult coloring books that retail for $9.99 a piece. They're also selling colored pencils and markers with fine tips that will accommodate the intricate designs. The books will be distributed among major retailers, including Target.
You're going to need a lot of quarters for this vending machine. Online car dealer Carvana has opened the first coin-operated, fully automatic used car vending machine in Nashville. Customers simply enter their name and a special coin into the machine's control panel. The selected car is placed on a track that leads out of the 5-story tower and onto the delivery bay. Afterwards, buyers have a 7-day test drive period, after which they can choose to buy or return the car. Carvana has plans to expand in the U.S. and is expected to revolutionize the car buying process by cutting out the need for paperwork and salespeople.
Matt Haskins now joins us to talk about this week's health headlines.
What's going on in health news, Matt?
Thanks, guys. More than 100 women claim they became pregnant due to a mix-up in birth control packaging. Several of these women are seeking millions in damages. Now, birth control pills are often arranged with 3 weeks of hormone pills and 1 week of placebo pills. Now, according to the Food and Drug Administration, because of misalignment with pills, women wound up taking placebo pills when they should have been taking hormone pills. Several of the women who claim they became pregnant due to the mix-up are suing for wrongful pregnancy. They're suing for damage including pain, suffering, and medical expenses. Some are even suing for the cost of the child's college education. Also, the Supreme Court says that we're here to challenge to key parts of the Texas 2013 abortion law. One provision at issue requires doctors who perform abortions to have admitting privileges at a nearby hospital. The law also mandates clinics to upgrade their facilities to hospital-like standards. Supporters of the law argue it's meant to protect women's health. Opponents say the measure is a disguised attempt to limit and eventually end all abortions. The U.S. Supreme Court has not heard a major abortion case since 2007. The court's decision will likely come down sometime next spring or early summer. If you catch yourself wishing you could catch a few Z's in the afternoon, well, here's some good news for you. Some sleep experts not only say you should be napping, but that the perfect time to do it is at work. An expert with the National Sleep Foundation says a power nap can help in the fight that dip energy we often feel early to mid-afternoon. The ideal time of the day to doze off is between 2 and 4 p.m. But this is not deep sleep, so limit your nap to 20 minutes. Anything more than 20 minutes and you slip into REM sleep, which actually makes energy levels for the rest of your day worse. Of course, most people are at work from 2 to 4, so some experts suggest getting a few Z's on a late lunch break. Greek life at the University of Montevallo was home to several successful philanthropy events that raised money and awareness for problems facing both community and the world we live in. Falcon Weekly's Elia McCutcheon shows us more from one of the most popular philanthropy events on campus, Lip Jam, organized by the Sisters of Alpha Gamma Delta.
The University of Montevallo's Greek Life hosts a variety of events benefiting their philanthropic organizations. One of the largest philanthropy events of the year is called Lip Jam, put on every November by the Sisters of Alpha Gamma Delta.
Lip Jam is our annual fall philanthropy event, and it's a lip singing and dancing competition between all the Greek organizations and anyone else who chooses to participate.
Alpha Gamma Delta has seen huge success in the past 13 years since the event has started.
We raised over $2,200 last year at Lip Jam.
Lip Jam's really popular because Greeks and non-Greeks love to come and watch it, and everyone loves to participate, and it's just overall a lot of fun, and people just love it.
The theme varies each year, from holidays to boy bands. This year, members of Montevallo's Greek organizations will be taking on the evolution of various pop artists.
Yeah, man, we've been working on this for about a month, 4 days a week and putting in those 2 harsh hours every night. But yeah, it's a really cool event, and I think we all had a lot of fun doing it.
While the campus has a great time participating, the real reason for Lip Jam is to help the community around us, an idea very close to the Sisters of Alpha Gamma Delta's hearts.
Lip Jam benefits the Alpha Gamma Delta Foundation, which raises money for diabetes research and education.
One of our advisors' daughters, Rylan, has been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. We have someone that we can look at and like a purpose to raise money, because we can see her and see her medical costs and what she goes through and her mom goes through.
Lip Jam will be held Tuesday, November 18th at 8 p.m. in Palmer Auditorium. All proceeds will go to the Alpha Gamma Delta Foundation. Reporting for Falcon Weekly, I'm Elia McCutcheon.
The judges for this year's Lip Jam are faculty members Dr. Kathleen Martin, Dr. Bruce Finkley, and staff member B.J. Posey. Reporting live in the studio, I'm Matt Haskins.
Still ahead, one chain restaurant is testing out with a tip-free policy. See what servers think about their chain.
And watch highlights from the Montevallo men's basketball victory later in Falcon Fever. We'll be right back.
Not sure what to do if someone attacks you while walking around campus at night?
Last week, the Montevallo Police Department hosted a self-defense course for students, faculty, and staff. Falcon Weekly's Laura Poitras joins us with a look at the event. Laura?
Thanks, guys. After 2 nights of training, the course offered attendees a chance to fight a police officer with protective gear. Take a look. Each year, the University of Montevallo Police Department hosts a self-defense training course for students, faculty, and staff. Student Sele Oliver says the training has taught her to speak up and fight back.
The most important weapon that you have is your voice. Like, be assertive when you say no. You should tell that person no, and if they continue, you should be loud.
After instructing students to speak up, the officers taught students the best way to stand up against someone trying to harm them. After learning the proper standing, hitting, and kicking techniques, students were faced with real-life scenarios and given a chance to respond. Students say they feel more confident about how to face an attacker. Officer Prady says the one thing he wants people to remember is you don't always have to be polite.
It's okay to be rude. Don't let people in the building behind you just because you don't want to offend somebody. If they're not with you, don't let them in, and then call us and we can take care of the situation.
If you missed out on this semester's self-defense course, UMPD says it will offer another class in the spring.
Now it's time to talk about the stories that got us talking.
Laura's got our buzzworthy stories this week, and weather reporter Haley Sugg joins us to talk about them. So, Laura, what have you got for us today?
Well, thanks, guys. Ever wanted to go to dinner but didn't want to pay for a tip? A no-tipping movement is being backed by a restaurant chain. Joe's Crab Shack is testing out getting rid of tipping. Samantha Chapman has the story.
These servers here at Drake say no way, but believe it or not, there's one restaurant chain that's testing out a no tipping policy.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Van Jenkins has been working at Drake's for about 2 years.
So I get your $2 and something to drink. Are you getting settled on there?
It's the perfect job for this mother and full-time college student.
I don't have to come to work at 9 to 5. I can be flexible and do a 12 to 2, or I can do a 4 to a 10. I have fun. I'm serving. I'm doing what I like to do.
And her favorite part of the job?
Tips.
But her fellow servers at Joe's Crab Shack could be kissing their tips goodbye. The restaurant chain is testing out a new model called no tipping. Credit card receipts will no longer include a tip line. Instead, employees will be paid more. It's happening at 18 Joe's restaurants across the country. The Louisville location is not adopting the no-tipping model, at least not yet, but there is one in Kentucky that's testing it out. That's the Bellevue location, effective immediately. U of L Associate Professor Beth Davis-Schramick says this new model is becoming a national trend.
We're seeing this more often in places where the minimum wage has increased. Customers are going to pay more, generally speaking, they're going to pay more for their meal, but then feel okay about it because they're not paying for the tip at the end.
In a written statement, Joe's parent company says, quote, "We are confident that this change will provide increased financial stability for our employees. A small price increase was taken into account for the added labor cost, but the policy is designed to benefit both the guests and employees."
The risk in doing this is that you are now no longer rewarding performance.
But back at Drake's, Jenkins continues to work hard for her tips, hoping they'll never be taken away.
It's important for me so I can provide for my family. Provide for my family with the flexibility and also pay for school as well.
Samantha Chapman, WDRB News.
Joe's Crab Shack says its servers will be paid $14 an hour, and due to that, the price of menu items will increase by up to 15%. On a similar note, a recent study shows younger generations are tipping better than their parents. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, I think it can be a good thing, and I think it could also be a bad thing, because, if you're a good server and you get good tables, you can make a lot more than $14 an hour. You can make up to $20, $25 an hour if you're getting tipped well, if you're doing your job really good.
But then, I know my sister, she was a server, and she would sometimes get completely just washed out with people coming in and getting $200 bills and leaving like $1 or $2. So.
I quit serving because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're always going to have those bad tables, but like I said, there's the potential to be, you can make more money than what they're going to give you, and there's also the potential you can make less. So.
Yeah.
I think gratuity is a good thing. So it's like usually if they put it in gratuity, you don't really know you're paying a tip. So I think gratuity is a good thing, but maybe it'll be beneficial for Joe's Crab Shack.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. A woman in Massachusetts was successful in her battle against the local DMV over the issue of headwear in her driver's license photo.
Against us just because you haven't heard of us. It's like there's how many thousands of religions. How are you going to know all of them? So I hope this helps open the door so other people can go and don't have to have that hassle.
Lindsay Miller is a self-described Pastafarian and member of the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. The Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles refused Miller's request to wear a spaghetti strainer in her driver's license photo. The American Humanist Association filed an appeal on her behalf, which caused the registry to allow Miller to get her photo instead of heading to court. Some believe the church's ideology is a satirical play on creationism, but the church insists that their beliefs are sincere and backed by hard science. Would you be surprised if you saw someone wearing a colander on their head, guys?
I'm surprised now, Laura, and you have the exact same one. I don't know how to feel about that.
Do you have something to tell us?
Well, I don't know.
Are you a Pastafarian?
I just joined this afternoon. Just happened to have a colander in the backseat of my car. So, I've never heard of this religious group. Have you?
I have, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's a joke on the internet, in my opinion.
Okay, but they don't really take it as a joke themselves, though?
She looks like she's really serious.
I've never met a serious one, ever.
Laura.
Well, she looks like
except for maybe you.
Yeah, well. Anyway, Target is selling a sweater that some say makes light of a serious illness.
which isn't amusing for those who actually have the condition of obsessive-compulsive disorder. The red sweater is decorated with the acronym OCD, followed by the words Obsessive Christmas Disorder. Some customers are insisting that Target stop selling the sweater, and many are taking to social media to spread their opinion. Some say that the sweater mocks those with a serious mental illness, while others want the offended to lighten up. Target has responded by saying, "We never want to disappoint our guests, and we apologize for the discomfort. We do not have plans to remove this sweater." Well, what do you guys think that Target should do?
I think both sides have a bit of a point. I mean, people get so easily offended about stuff nowadays, but I mean, it is kind of making light of something that some people really do have to live with every day. So
yeah. But I don't think that the intention was to make light of it,
no, I don't either.
Make fun of an illness that people struggle with. I think it was just a funny idea that they thought, oh, well, I bet we could sell a bunch of these shirts. And yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, I don't really know. Target makes a lot of the joking sweatshirts.
They do.
Because you had on a sweatshirt that said Kale, like it's Yale, but you know. I mean, it's just a joke. It's just joking.
Yes. Well, just because it's more advanced than us doesn't mean a self-driving car can avoid the police. An officer in Mountain View, California, pulled over one of Google's self-driving cars on Thursday. While a Google employee passenger was inside the car at the time, no one was behind the wheel. Authorities say the car was causing traffic to back up by driving 11 miles per hour under the speed limit. Google says the car's speed is limited to 25 miles an hour for safety reasons. The officer let the vehicle go without issuing a ticket since the car technically broke no law. Google seemed to take the stop in stride, posting on Google Plus that humans likely don't get pulled over for slow driving too often. Have you guys ever been pulled over for going too slow?
No, that is not a problem that I have, is driving too slow.
Yeah, I know one person that has. He was actually headed into Montevallo, and he got pulled over. He was going just a few miles under the speed limit, but the officer told him he was so used to seeing people speed in that was why he pulled him over, because he was going so much slower. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I can't relate.
I can't either. So.
Sad. My foot's kind of heavy.
Thanks, Laura. Now it's time for a check of our Montevallo forecast.
Haley's got a weather outlook for us. What's the weather around the country looking like?
Well, we've got high winds in Milwaukee Thursday that made for the perfect day for water sports enthusiasts. Surfing isn't a sport often associated with Wisconsin, but gusty winds created waves just big enough to accommodate surfers on Lake Michigan. Parts of southeast Wisconsin had storm and gale warnings in effect Friday. A tornado and severe storms tore through California on Sunday afternoon. A confirmed twister touched down in Denair, a town nearly 80 miles from Sacramento. The aftermath included a demolished barn and garage with downed trees and power lines, leaving hundreds of people without power. There have been no reported injuries from the storm. Looking at our local forecast, overnight we're going to have a fairly mild evening with a little bit of rain towards Hamilton. And then in the upcoming week, temperature-wise, we're going to have a fairly mild week up until the middle, when Wednesday we'll have a thunderstorm, most likely, that could possibly turn severe, and that will bring us down to lower temperatures throughout the weekend. That's your weekly forecast.
Coming up, the women's cross-country teams are making headlines again.
See how their coach is being honored. Falcon Fever is next.
Hey. Hey, could we please watch something else?
Well, what do you want to watch?
The Montevallo For You YouTube channel. Look at all those videos. You can watch it any time of the day from anywhere.
Cat videos are still better.
Preposterous!
Falcon Fever. I'm Elizabeth Reinhart with a look at this week's sports. Starting off campus headlines, the men's basketball team opened the season at home Friday night with a 93-72 win over the Carver Bible Cougars. Midway into the first half, Montevallo took a double-digit lead against the Cougars and never looked back, ending the game with a 21-point lead. In the first game of the season, the Falcons shot 55.4% from the floor, while the Cougars only shot 33.3%. Senior Bryant Orange earned a double-double with 18 points and 12 rebounds in the season opener. With this win, Montevallo is 9-for-4 in season openers under head coach Danny Young. The women's basketball team wasn't as lucky in their season opener, losing to Concordia College 70-57 at home Friday night. The Falcons were neck and neck with the Hornets until the fourth quarter, where Concordia outscored Montevallo 21-12 to pull away with the win. In the loss, Montevallo recorded 12 steals against the Hornets. Senior Catherine Goldsby led the team with a career-high 7 steals. The volleyball team ended their regular season splitting 2 games over the weekend. The Falcons traveled to South Carolina on Friday to take on the Francis Marion Patriots. After 3 close sets, the Patriots pulled out the sweep and handed Montevallo a loss on the road, marking only the 3rd time the Falcons have been swept this season. On Saturday, Montevallo crossed the border into North Carolina to meet UNC Pembroke in their last regular season game. The Falcons earned their 20th win of the season after dominating the Braves in all 3 sets. This win marks the 3rd consecutive season the Falcons have clinched 20 wins. The Falcons will begin postseason play on Tuesday, November 17th at home. Montevallo will host Lander University in the first round of the PBC tournament. The Falcons are 1-for-1 against the Lander Bearcats this season. First set is set for 7 p.m. The women's cross-country team has earned another achievement. Associate head coach Julia Marquardt has been named the NCAA Division II Southeast Region Coach of the Year in women's cross-country. In her 3rd season at Montevallo, Marquardt led the nationally ranked Falcons to the largest win in school history at the NCAA Division II Southeast Region Championships. She also led them to their 2nd consecutive PBC title. Due to this award, Marquardt is on the ballot for the National Coach of the Year, which will be announced following the national championship later this month. Switching gears to SEC football, Alabama rolled all over the Mississippi State Bulldogs on Saturday to increase their chances of clinching the SEC West title. After a scoreless first quarter, it seemed as if this game would be another tight one until Cyrus Jones gave Alabama the spark it needed and returned a 69-yard punt for a touchdown early in the second quarter. After that, the Tide rolled over the Bulldogs and never looked back. Alabama's defense did what it is notorious for and held a typically electric Mississippi State offense to 2 field goals. The Tide ended the game with a dominating 31-6 win in Starkville. Alabama running back and Heisman frontrunner Derrick Henry had another impressive performance with 204 yards on 22 carries and 2 touchdowns. Down on the Plains, the Auburn Tigers weren't as impressive after Georgia handed them their 5th loss of the season. Auburn's best defensive effort since 2011 was still not enough to pull out a win against the Georgia Bulldogs at home on Saturday. The Tigers led the Bulldogs 10-3 at halftime but could not hold on to that lead after a punt return and 2 Auburn turnovers gave Georgia a total of 17 points in the second half. Auburn never regained the lead and fell to Georgia 20-13. And that's a wrap on this week's sports.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That's all the time we have for this week's show. Thanks so much for joining us.
For more news from MassCom student reporters, be sure to check out the Falcon News Network blog. The web address is on your screen. We leave you with this video from Paris, where the city of light is brighter tonight as the Eiffel Tower was lit up in the colors of blue, white, and red, the colors of the French flag, in honor of those lost in the terrorist attacks.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to all of those impacted by ISIS attacks around the world. We'll see you again next week.